Now, show of hands, how many of you think I embarrassed myself here? Hey, welcome to my video. If you're from my Instagram, I love you, and if you're not from my Instagram, love you all the same. Welcome to today's video in which I get ready, I create this little simple soft glam look while talking about meeting the queens at RuPaul's DragCon this year. I'm really gonna be spilling the tea, going into detail about what was said and my experiences with them. So if this sounds like it would be your vibe, if it sounds like something you would like, then please keep watching. So day one of DragCon, the first queen I ever met was Jan, which I was really excited about because I love Jan. And another thing that I loved is that she had her collection with JanSport available for purchase at her booth. And so even though I am not a fanny pack girl yet, I got an adorable little fanny pack. And if you want to know like what else I bought at DragCon, you should watch my vlog because I do full little hauls there. But anyways, back to meeting Jan. So first I went and I bought the little fanny pack, and then I met her, and she was so sweet, you guys. As soon as she saw me, she said that she loved my lipstick. She asked what it was, and you know what, at this point we had a little chit chat about makeup because basically I told her that I was very embarrassed by my lipstick because it's a very old Kylie Jenner lip kit, and she was like, oh, are we worried about the expiration date? And basically I was like, oh, we're way past the expiration date. God forbid I look at it. And obviously don't use expired makeup. Don't do what I did. Then Jan laughed and she told me that this was a safe space because she was also wearing blush that was about 8 years old and that it must have also expired. So we bonded a little on that, but nevertheless, she told me that it was still beautiful and that it looked great on me. And I obviously thanked her, but also asked her what highlighter she was wearing because it looked so beautiful. And she told me that she was wearing multiple and asked me like what was coming through for me. And honestly, what it was is this beautiful like lilac shimmer. Well, it was mostly lilac, but it definitely had some iridescence to it. It was gorgeous. And she proceeded to tell me that it's by Danessa Myricks and that it's called Love Story. So I will definitely be looking into purchasing that. Anyways, after that, she asked me who else I was gonna see at DragCon, and I told her a little bit about that. We chatted some more and she thanked me for coming. We took a picture and that was pretty much it. Honestly, you guys, she was as nice and as warm as can be. Then after that, I popped over to Lawrence Chaney's booth where I got a really funny t-shirt. And also, side note, you guys, her set was amazing. And when I got to her, that's literally one of the first things I said to her. And she also matched her set really well, and I told her she looked incredible. And she thanked me. She also said she loved my makeup. And by the way, you guys, side note, she was very bubbly. Even waiting in line to meet her, she would like interact with everybody, acknowledge everybody. Like if she got a gift from somebody, she would show it to the line. She would do little comedy bits while you waited to meet her, and I thought that was so fun and honestly a nice way to break the ice because she immediately made you feel comfortable. So I really loved that. And we also chatted a little bit about everything. Among other things, I told her that I loved her wig because it really was grand, and she told me that it was very difficult to style, but honestly you would have never been able to tell because she styled it perfectly. And of course that's what I told her. I also told her, meanwhile, I can't even curl my own natural hair. Well, not properly anyways. And now this is gonna be a little side rant, a little side note, but honestly, if you've ever watched this channel, you're used to those by now. I was never good at hair. When I was in maybe high school, I was a little better than I am now. Like I had at least about 3 go-to hairstyles that I could do without fail. Meanwhile, now I'm worse because the only thing I kind of have patience for is curling my hair. And yet even when I do that, it doesn't always turn out how I want it to turn out in my head. So that's kind of annoying. So if anybody knows of any good hair tools that basically do everything for you, I would love recommendations. But yeah, that's basically what I told Lawrence, and we had a little giggle about that. She also hugged me twice, thanked me for coming, and we took fun little pictures. She was very open to do silly little poses, and overall seeing her was very fun. Okay, now before we move on, we're gonna do a quick little intermission because I want to say a quick little word about these eyeshadows that I did get at DragCon, and I told you I was gonna update you on later on. And I have used these about 3 times. They are beautiful. The camera any camera doesn't really do them justice. They're so gorgeous. They have such a duo or multiple chrome type of finish to them, and they look so crazy gorgeous in person. Also, they're very easy to apply, and it literally took 2 minutes, so I love these. They're by Glisten Cosmetics, by the way. Okay, moving forward, the next queen I met is Miss Vanjie, and honestly, you guys, I have literally been obsessed with her since the first Miss Vanjie was ever uttered on Drag Race. So she was literally everything that I wanted her to be and so much more. She was very bubbly, very loud in the best way possible, very animated. She also talked to literally everybody in line, was making little jokes with everybody. She was very, very funny and down to earth. And so finally I'm in line, okay? And it's my turn to meet her at this point. And I'm a little scared because if you're not sure of my, let's say, backstory meeting drag queens, it's not the best, okay? I honestly have been known to embarrass myself. We're all just people at the end of the day, or so I thought, until I met Trixie and Katya and completely embarrassed myself in front of them because Katya complimented me and I simply could not take it. So at this point I was like, oh my god, God forbid Miss Vanjie says one nice word to me, I'm gonna spontaneously combust. And at this point in the day, I've also had no incidents, and so I was like, oh my god, it's gonna happen soon. And so I'm standing in line, right? And she needed to touch up her makeup, and she looked at me and she said something along the lines of like, oh, wait a second, girl, I need to baste this turkey or something funny. And I was like, yes, of course, take your time. And while she was doing that, I started really like looking at her because number one, okay, Miss Vanjie has flawless skin, really not an imperfection in sight, and she also looked blurred. Like she looked like she had the blur filter on in real life. Her skin was amazing. And also makeup wise, I wish that I could have just copied and pasted everything that she did to her face on my face because it was completely up my alley. She had this beautiful iridescent shimmer on, and she had a lovely shade of blush on, and you know how much I love blush. So I really did love her look. So while she was touching it up, I was really looking at her, and she's just so beautiful that I literally started to blush, physically blush, looking at Miss Vanjie. Now, show of hands, how many of you think I embarrassed myself here? Honestly, you're almost right because I could have easily, but this is what happened. So I go over there, I tell her hi, I tell her she looks so beautiful, and she tells me that she thinks I'm gorgeous. She called me a Disney princess about 5 different times in the conversation, but basically every time she said it, I was like, oh my god, stop, thank you. And then she would insist even more and be like, girl, no, I'm telling you, you're giving me Disney princess vibes. You're giving me like Snow White vibes. You're so beautiful. And at one point I had to just be like, Vanjie, I'm trying so hard to be cool at this point. You have to stop saying that. And it was so funny because she was like, girl, no, I'm telling you, it's the truth. And I was like, no, Vanjie, I'm telling you, you're gorgeous. And then we got into a little Uno reverse, like, no, you're beautiful, like little kerfuffle. And then we both had a laugh. That was so funny. And that kind of helped me cool down a little bit. But yeah, she also asked things like how the vibes at DragCon are, who I'm gonna see after this, like what my plans are. And I told her, I asked her how she was. I asked if she was having fun. And then she said something along the lines of like, how could she not be having fun? Like, look at all of us over here. And honestly, she was such a key. Like, she even did this thing, which I forgot to mention, but she would give everybody her own personal like water bottle, or not water bottle. Honestly, it was more like a Stanley cup. But yeah, she would give that to anybody who was thirsty. She would also let like people take pictures with it. So that was so fun. We also took a bunch of pictures. She switched a bunch of different poses, also took a selfie with me, also signed her print on my back, which I love. So I thanked her, of course, and then moved on, and she like said something along the lines of like, bye Snow White, and like click clacked her nails at me, and I did it right back to her. I just love her so much. The energy that she had was unreal. Everything that I could have ever wished for and more. Then I went and waited in probably the longest line of the day, and that was Miss Alyssa's line. It was so nice because she really seemed like she wanted to talk to everybody. And so finally I get up there and I see her, I say hi, and she sees me and she goes, all right, she ready? And she started like pointing to my eye makeup, telling me how nice and snatched it was and how good I looked. And then you remember earlier when I was like, oh, I'm bound to embarrass myself? Well, it finally happened. She like tells me, oh sweetie, you like have some lipstick on your teeth. And honestly, shout out to her for telling me. She is a real one, because if nobody tells you, you're gonna be walking around like that all day, and that's super embarrassing. And so she told me I had a lipstick on my teeth. Now mind you, the backstory here is that I wear Invisalign. I've been wearing it for a little bit under under a year at this point. I don't know if it's just the lipstick that I use or what, but every single lipstick that I use, even if it's liquid, ends up rubbing off on my Invisalign trays, and it takes literally way too long to scrub it off. And so that's just very annoying to me. Now, since I normally wear nude lipsticks, that's not as much of a problem, because even if the nude does get on your trays, it's not as visible. But this day, of course, I was wearing red lipstick. And also, backstory is that it's been kind of getting on my trays throughout the whole day, and then I would have to go and touch up and remove it, and then it would get there again, and it was all around very annoying. Anyway, she tells me I have lipstick on my teeth, and she tries to like show me where so that I can rub it off, and I'm trying, but I'm looking at her and I'm going, it's on the Invisalign, isn't it? And she's like, oh yes, it's on the Invisalign. And at that point I just quit. I was like, well, I guess we can't have everything. I tried to look good for you, mother, I really did, but we can't have everything. And then she was like, no, you look amazing, like, you know why I said that, right? And I was like, yeah, of course you had to tell me. But that was so embarrassing to me, you guys. Not the fact that she told me, the fact that it happened to me. And I'm gonna go on record right now and say that I would rather get embarrassed in front of my whole former high school, but the fact that it had to happen in front of the glam mother, the grande dame, the beauty and pageant queen, Miss Alyssa Edwards, is so vile. I hate that for me. That is so embarrassing. And you know what? It really wasn't like a little bit. I checked after I left the meet and greet and I looked like I was bleeding out of my gums. It was so crazy. Very embarrassing for me. But anyways, we talked a little bit. I told her that I loved watching her on Global All-Stars again. Told her that we were all rooting for her and that watching her on there was like my personal Super Bowl, because that's true. And she laughed and she thanked me for watching and following her career. And she also said that if she didn't win that one, she might have just quit. And I was like, but you did win, rightfully so. And so she was high-fiving me. She also asked me where I'm from and stuff like that. And then I left. She was really so regal, such a presence, and she looked incredible, by the way. So I was very happy to meet her, very glad I got the chance, but very embarrassed. And of course it had to happen in front of her. Like, damn, but okay. And that was it for my DragCon day one. Like I mentioned in the vlogs, I got a little overwhelmed that day, so I went back to my hotel early, but then got a head start on the next day and met quite a few queens, starting with Miss Angeria, who looked beautiful. She had on this beautiful orange gown. She smelled amazing. She was very fun to talk to. She also told me she loved my earrings and was very sweet overall, just like asked me how I was. And I told her I was great. I was very excited to be here. I asked her how she was, and she told me a little bit about the fun that she's having and how everybody is always so nice. And so yeah, we had a little chat about that, and we also took a selfie. So also, of course, I was glad to meet her. Then after that, I went to Juno Birch's booth, and she had a great selection of merch, and she was so beautiful as well, you guys. The blue makeup looks incredible. In person, it really does look like a filter. And so when I saw her, I just told her that. I was like, it looks flawless. And then she said, you want to peek behind the curtain? And like took off her glasses and showed me that the blue makeup was completely rubbed off on her nose. And then we had a little laugh. She asked me if I was American and I said no. And then we chatted a little bit about that. She told me that she thought that I was because of my accent. And then she asked me if English was my first language, and I said no, but I learned it really young when I was about 3 or 4. And then she asked if it was by watching TV, and I was like, yes, exactly. How did you know? And she basically told me about some of her friends that learned that way by watching TV shows and cartoons when they were really young, and that's exactly what happened to me. So she clocked my tea. But yeah, I loved talking to her. She was really chatty. Also asked personal questions, but again, not too personal, just like personal enough to where she made you feel like she was interested in you personally, and that was so sweet of her. She also told me that she loved my look and that I matched her set, and she also did way more for me than she needed to, because I got up there and I asked her if she could do me 2 favors, and she was like, yeah, of course, like name it. And I asked her to sign my t-shirt, which is the t-shirt that I'm wearing right now, and then I also asked her for a selfie. Obviously, whenever I did these things, I made sure to let everybody know that there's no pressure and they can totally say no if they don't want to do it. And I didn't ask this of every single queen, but those I did. I made it very clear that they don't have to. But Juno immediately was like, oh yes, of course, you didn't even have to ask. I thought you were gonna ask for something like major. And I said, like what? And she was like, I don't know, take off your pants. And I was like, well, if the vibe is right. And I made a little joke and we laughed, but she signed everything. She even drew a little heart on my t-shirt, and we took selfies, and she just looks so adorable. Then I wanted to meet Miss Kitty Scott Claus, and so I went to her booth, which was just as funny as she is. I'm gonna pop some pictures on the the screen just so you see kind of what I'm talking about, but I loved her booth. It made me giggle while I was waiting in line. But yeah, I went up and I met her and she looked like a beautiful Barbie doll. She had on this tiny little snatched corset and she had on this gorgeous pink makeup and overall looked so beautiful. But I saw her and I was like, that little teeny waist, if I put that corset on, they would have to wheel me out of here in emergency services. And then she laughed and then I told her just how much I loved her and that me and my boyfriend loved watching her and were rooting for her the whole way through. And she was so like animated. She was like, well, where is he then? And I was like, well, somebody's got to work and somebody's got to spend the money and you see where I am. And she was like, well, you know what would be fun? Let's film a little video for your boyfriend. She suggested it and I was like, oh my God, he would get such a kick out of that. You obviously don't have to do that. Are you sure? And she was like, no, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Like pull out your phone. And we did end up recording a little video for him where she was just like, where are you? Like, I hear that you're at work, but like, fuck work, come and see me. And that was entirely too funny. So I just sent that to my boyfriend without like explanation or context. And he got such a laugh from that. That was incredible of her. And then since my phone was already out, I was like, Kitty, do you mind if we take just a quick selfie? And she was like, yeah, of course, babe. So yeah, all in all, I loved her so much. And then the Thai queens had a booth. At the head of it was Miss Pangina Heels. And when I saw who the queens were and their beautiful, gorgeous set, I was like, I have to go. So I did. And I got there and all three of them were so nice. They made me like turn in multiple directions so that they could see my eye makeup and told me I look beautiful. Pangina also kept repeating it and I was like, you have to stop. Because again, I was losing my cool a little bit. I was letting it get to my head because I can't explain to you how beautiful they looked live. So for them to say that to me, I mean, what an honor. And she's like, no girl, I'm telling you, why would I lie? Why would I lie? And then I made a little joke and she made a little joke and we had a blast. Honestly, I looked like a slob next to them because I looked very ordinary and they looked like regal, beautiful royal queens, but they were very fun. And I also asked them for a selfie as well. I left there starstruck, honestly. Okay, and last but certainly not least, I had to go and meet Miss Michelle Visage. I purchased a signed print that was already pre-signed, like it had her signature on it, but when I bought it, they told me that she was also gonna sign my name once she meets me. And so we were given this little piece of paper with our names on it so she could spell it correctly. And I thought that was a very cool and fun little detail. So anyways, when it was my turn to meet her, she already had the little piece of paper with my name on it because she signed my name like literally 2 seconds before she met me. And so as soon as I got in there, I sat down, said hi, and she was like, Theodora, my love, what a beautiful name. Where are you from? And she also started asking like personal get to know you questions. And again, seemed genuinely interested in the answers. And so I told her I'm from a tiny country and that she probably wouldn't know it because it's really a small country. And I told her the name and she was like, oh no, actually I do know it because I believe a member of production is from there. And she started naming off places in the country. And I was like, oh my God, you do actually know it. And she was like, yes, I've never been, but I've heard it's lovely. And so we talked a little bit about that. And one thing I have to say about her is that truly she had such like a motherly, beautiful, I can't really explain it, but healing energy to her. Like this very calm in the best way, healing presence, very relaxing. And so then we got to talking about just our countries individually. And she said something along the lines of like, look at what's happening in America. And we started talking about the importance of LGBTQIA spaces, the effect that they have on us. And she told me a little bit about how she wanted to leave the world a better place than she found it. And that's especially important because she has a queer child. It was actually very inspiring, the things that she was saying. So I thanked her for that. And then when somebody was taking our picture, she was like, I love your phone case. Are those the Care Bears? And I was like, yeah, because I do have Care Bears on my phone case. So overall, such a lovely, healing and wholesome interaction. And honestly, that was it. That was everybody that I met at DragCon this year. It was so amazing. If I do get the chance to go next year, I would love to. And if you get a chance to go to DragCon too, definitely do that. It is beyond fun. Okay, now wait till I let my hair down so that I can show you the final look. This is it. Like I said, nothing too complicated, just a very simple and quick glam for an everyday type of vibe. But if you made it this far, you are a kitty girl and it's your world. And if you liked this video, then please consider liking, subscribing, maybe even commenting, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.